The shuttle shook hard as red lights flashed everywhere. Jake Morrison held tight to his seat as the small ship spun out of control. Through the window he could see the rocky planet getting closer and closer. The enemy ships had hit them good, and now they were going down fast. "Hold on," shouted the pilot. But Jake could see the man was scared. The shuttle hit the atmosphere and started burning up on the outside. Jake felt his stomach drop as they fell like a stone toward the ground. The crash was loud and violent. Jake felt his body get thrown around like a toy. Metal bent and broke around him. Sharp pieces of the ship cut into his skin. His head hit something hard, and bright lights flashed in his eyes. Then everything went quiet. Jake opened his eyes, slowly. His whole body hurt, but he was alive. He could taste blood in his mouth. When he tried to move his right leg, pain shot through him like fire. Something was very wrong with it. His left arm felt funny too, like it was not connected right. He looked around the broken shuttle. The pilot was not moving. Jake called out but got no answer. He was alone on this strange planet. Through a hole in the wall he could see purple sky and weird crystal rocks everywhere. The air smelled different, like metal and something sweet. Jake knew he had to get out. The shuttle might blow up or catch fire. He tried to stand up, but his leg would not work right. It bent in a way that legs should not bend. He bit his lip to stop from making noise. Pain was just pain. He had felt worse during training back on Earth. Using his good arm, Jake pulled himself toward the opening. Every move hurt, but he kept going. He had to find help, or at least get to a safe place. The purple sun was going down, and he did not want to be stuck here in the dark. Outside the shuttle, the ground was covered with sharp crystal rocks. They looked pretty but dangerous. Jake tried to walk again. His broken leg would not hold his weight, so he used a piece of metal from the ship like a walking stick. Each step sent pain up his body, but he kept moving. After walking for what felt like hours, Jake saw lights in the distance. They were not like Earth lights, but they meant people or at least some kind of life. He started moving toward them, dragging his bad leg behind him. The lights got bigger as he got closer. Jake could see buildings that looked strange and smooth, like they were grown instead of built. Tall, thin creatures moved around between the buildings. They had gray skin and long arms. Jake had never seen anything like them before. One of the creatures saw him and made a sound like singing. More of them came running. They surrounded Jake and talked to each other in their musical language. Jake could not understand them, but they seemed worried about him. The creatures were gentle as they helped him. Two of them got on each side and supported his weight. Jake was surprised at how strong they were, even though they looked thin. They moved him toward the largest building, talking the whole time in their strange song language. Inside the building, everything was white and clean. It smelled like medicine. Jake knew this had to be some kind of hospital. The creatures laid him down on something soft that felt warm against his skin. More of the gray people came to look at him. One creature that seemed to be in charge stepped forward. It was taller than the others and wore something that looked like a doctor's coat. The creature had big dark eyes that seemed kind. It touched a device on its chest, and suddenly Jake could understand its words. "I am Dr. Vexhai," the creature said. "Do not fear. We will help you." Jake tried to sit up. "Thank you. My shuttle crashed. I think I might be hurt pretty bad." Dr. Vexhai's eyes got wider. "You are conscious? And speaking? This is not possible with such injuries." The doctor moved a strange device over Jake's body. It made soft beeping sounds and showed pictures on a screen. Dr. Vexhai looked at the screen, then at Jake, then back at the screen. The doctor's face showed shock and confusion. Other medical workers gathered around the screen. They all started talking at once in their musical language. Some of them looked scared, others seemed amazed. Dr. Vexhai held up a hand to quiet them. "Human Jake Morrison," the doctor said slowly. "I must tell you something that will be hard to believe." Jake waited. He was starting to feel tired, but the pain was not as bad as before. Maybe they had given him medicine. Dr. Vexhai looked straight into Jake's eyes. "According to our scans, you have 17 broken bones. Your internal organs are damaged. You have lost much blood. By all medical knowledge of every species we know, you should be dead. Jake thought about this for a moment. 17 broken bones did sound like a lot, but he felt okay considering. Well, I'm not dead. So what do we do now? The medical workers all stared at him. Dr. HFY stepped back, like Jake had said something impossible. You barely flinched, the doctor whispered. A creature with 17 fractured bones just asked what we do now. Jake shrugged with his good shoulder. Pain is temporary. Giving up lasts forever. That's what they taught us in the military. Can you fix me up? I need to contact my ship and let them know I'm alive. Dr. HFY continued to stare. In all the years of medical practice across different worlds and species, nothing had prepared the doctor for this moment. This human was not just alive, but alert, rational, and ready to continue his mission. Yes, Dr. HFY said finally. We will fix you up, but first I must learn how this is possible. Dr. HFY worked quickly to set up machines around Jake's bed. The other medical workers brought tools and devices that Jake had never seen before. Everything looked smooth and advanced, like something from a science fiction movie. We will begin treatment now, Dr. HFY said. But first I must understand your species better. Humans are new to our medical records. We know very little about your biology. Jake nodded. Ask me anything you need to know, Doc. I want to get better so I can help find other survivors from my ship. The doctor attached small patches to Jake's skin. They felt cool and sent tiny electrical pulses through his body. These will monitor your vital signs, Dr. HFY explained. Tell me, is your pain tolerance normal for humans? I guess so, Jake said. Basic training teaches you to push through pain. My grandfather used to say that pain is just weakness leaving the body. Dr. HFY looked confused. Basic training? All humans learn to ignore severe pain? Well, not ignore it exactly. You feel it, but you don't let it stop you. In the military, we learn to keep fighting even when we're hurt. My buddy Pete once finished a 10-mile run with a broken ankle. Amy Rodriguez in my unit kept working for 6 hours with a dislocated shoulder. The doctor's eyes grew wide. 6 hours of work with a major joint injury? This is not possible for most species. Jake watched as the machines around him hummed and beeped. What about your people? How do you handle pain? For Zeltharians, severe pain causes immediate unconsciousness. It is our body's way of protecting us from further harm. Most galactic species have similar responses. Pain that intense should shut down conscious thought. A nurse came over with a device that looked like a spray bottle. She was shorter than Dr. HFY and had patterns on her gray skin that reminded Jake of tattoos. She spoke to the doctor in their musical language. This is Nurse Clithara, Dr. HFY said. She will give you medicine for the pain while we work on your bones. The nurse sprayed something on Jake's arm. It felt cold for a moment, then warm. How do you feel? She asked through the translation device. Jake waited a minute. I can still feel everything. Maybe it needs more time to work? Dr. HFY and Nurse Clithara looked at each other with concern. The doctor checked the medicine dispenser. That dose would render most creatures unconscious for hours. Let me try a stronger amount. The nurse gave Jake another spray, this time using twice as much medicine. Jake felt a little sleepy but still very awake. It's helping a bit, but I can still feel the broken bones pretty clearly. Impossible, Dr. HFY whispered. Your metabolism must be processing the medication too quickly. How often do humans need medical treatment on your homeworld? Jake thought about it. Pretty often, I guess. Sports injuries, work accidents, military training mishaps. My cousin broke his leg skiing and was back on the slopes in 2 months. My mom broke 3 ribs in a car crash and went back to work the next week. She worked with broken ribs? Nurse Clithara gasped. She said sitting at home would hurt worse than going to work. Plus, people were counting on her. Dr. HFY began working on Jake's broken leg with a device that looked like a pen with blue light coming out of it. This bone regeneration tool will help your fractures heal faster. Please tell me if the pain becomes too much. The blue light felt warm against Jake's skin. He could actually feel his bones starting to move back into place. It was uncomfortable, but not unbearable. That's pretty cool technology. How does it work? It stimulates bone growth at the cellular level, the doctor explained. But I am amazed you can have a conversation during this procedure. Most patients require deep sedation. Jake grinned. My drill sergeant used to make us do push-ups while he lectured us about military history. You learn to focus on other things when your body hurts. Nurse Clithara brought over a cart full of medical supplies. Doctor, should we proceed with the internal organ repair? Dr. Vexhai nodded. Yes, but keep monitoring his responses. This human's biology is unlike anything in our textbooks. As they worked, Jake told them stories about Earth. He explained how humans lived on a planet with dangerous weather, wild animals, and natural disasters. He described how people survived hurricanes, earthquakes, and blizzards. Your world sounds terrifying, Nurse Clithara said. How do humans live in such conditions? You adapt, Jake said simply. My grandmother lived through a tornado that destroyed her house. She rebuilt it stronger. My dad fell off a roof when I was a kid and broke his back. Doctors said he might never walk again. He was back to work in 6 months. Dr. Vexhai paused in the treatment. Your father recovered from spinal injury and returned to physical labor. Yeah, he said, lying around feeling sorry for himself wouldn't pay the bills or help the family. The doctor looked at Nurse Clithara. I am beginning to understand. This species evolved on what we would classify as a death world. Their bodies adapted to survive trauma that would kill most life forms. Death world? Jake asked. A planet so dangerous that only the strongest, most adaptable life forms can survive, Dr. Vexhai explained. High gravity, extreme weather, predators, diseases. Most civilized species evolved on much gentler worlds. Jake nodded. That makes sense. Earth can be pretty rough, but it's home. The treatment continued for several hours. Jake remained awake and alert the entire time, chatting with the medical staff and asking questions about their planet and culture. When Dr. Vexhai finished repairing the last of his broken bones, Jake sat up and stretched. How do you feel? The doctor asked. Jake moved his formerly broken leg. It was stiff, but functional. Much better. Thank you. When can I contact my ship? Doctor, Vexhai stared at him in wonder. You just underwent major medical procedures that should require days of recovery. You want to return to duty immediately? Well, yeah, people might need help. Every minute counts in a rescue situation. The doctor made notes on an electronic tablet. I must document everything about human physiology. This information could change galactic medicine forever. Jake stood up carefully. His body was sore, but he could move normally. Doc, if you think I'm tough, wait until you meet the rest of my crew. I'm pretty average for a human. Dr. Vexhai's hands shook slightly as the implications of those words sank in. 2 days later, Jake was helping repair communication equipment when alarms started blaring throughout the medical station. Dr. Vexhai rushed into the main bay where Jake was working with some Zeltharian technicians. A human ship has arrived, the doctor announced. They are requesting permission to land and conduct rescue operations. Jake's face lit up. That's my people. They came looking for survivors. Through the large windows, Jake could see a sleek Earth vessel settling down on the landing pad. It was smaller than the big exploration ships, but still impressive. The name UFS Intrepid was painted on the side in blue letters. A few minutes later, the airlock opened and Captain Lisa Hayes walked in. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and the confident walk of someone used to being in charge. Behind her came 2 other crew members in Earth military uniforms. Lieutenant Morrison, Captain Hayes said with a smile. Good to see you in one piece. Jake stood and saluted. Captain Hayes, good to see you too. These folks saved my life. He gestured to Dr. Vexhai and the medical staff. Captain Hayes turned to the Zeltharians and bowed slightly. Thank you for taking care of our people. I'm Captain Lisa Hayes of the Earth Federation. Dr. Vexhai stepped forward. I am Dr. Vexhai. Captain, I must tell you something remarkable about your lieutenant. Oh no, Jake said. Doc, please don't. Make a big deal about it. What happened? Captain Hayes asked, looking concerned. Dr. Vexahai pulled out the medical tablet. Your lieutenant survived 17 fractured bones, internal bleeding, and trauma that should have been fatal. He remained conscious and alert throughout treatment. He even helped with repairs while recovering. Captain Hayes looked at Jake with a raised eyebrow. 17 broken bones? Jake, you should have stayed in bed. I felt fine, Captain, just a little sore. Dr. Vexahai's eyes went wide. A little sore? Captain Hayes, does your species truly consider such injuries minor? Captain Hayes thought, for a moment. Well, 17 breaks is pretty serious. But if Jake says he felt okay, then he probably did. We trust our people to know their own limits. This is what I don't understand, Dr. Vexahai said. How can humans function with such damage? Jake looked at Captain Hayes. I was telling them about Earth and how we grow up dealing with tough conditions. Captain Hayes nodded. Dr. Vexahai, may I ask what kind of world your people come from? Zelthar is a peaceful planet. Gentle weather, no large predators, stable. Geology. We evolved in harmony with our environment. That sounds nice, Captain Hayes said. Earth is different. We have storms that can destroy cities, animals that hunt humans, diseases that kill millions. We had to become tough to survive. Dr. Vexahai was making notes frantically. Can you give me specific examples? Captain Hayes sat down on a nearby chair. When I was 10 years old, I fell out of a tree and broke my arm. My parents put it in a cast, and I was back to playing outside in a few days. When I was in college, I played football and got several concussions. Just part of the game. You continued athletic activity after brain injuries? Nurse Clithara asked in shock. Sure, as long as the doctors cleared me to play. Captain Hayes shrugged. My brother once got bit by a rattlesnake during a camping trip. He walked 5 miles to get help while the venom was in his system. Dr. Vexahai sat down heavily. A venomous bite that he survived through physical exertion. The walking actually helped pump the venom through his system faster so the antidote could work better, Captain Hayes explained. An alarm chimed, and a Zeltharian worker ran into the room. He spoke rapidly in the musical language. Dr. Vexahai's face showed worry. What's wrong? Jake asked. There has been a collapse in the mining tunnels. Several of our workers are trapped deep underground. The passages are unstable and filled with toxic gases. We cannot send rescue teams. Captain Hayes stood up. What kind of toxic gases? Dr. Vexahai checked the report. Methane, sulfur compounds, and trace amounts of heavy metals. The concentration would kill most species within minutes. How deep are they trapped? Captain Hayes asked. Nearly a kilometer underground. The access tunnels are blocked by rubble. Captain Hayes looked at Jake. What do you think, Lieutenant? Sounds like a job for humans. Jake was already moving toward the door. I'll get my gear from the shuttle wreckage. Wait, Dr. Vexahai called out. You cannot be serious. The gas concentrations alone would be fatal. Captain Hayes pulled out a small device and scanned the air. Dr. Vexahai, humans evolved around volcanic activity and swamps that produce these same gases. We have natural resistance to many toxins. Natural resistance? Our liver and kidneys are very good at filtering out poisons. Plus, we can hold our breath for several minutes if needed. Captain Hayes was already putting on her equipment belt. Jake, we'll need breathing masks just to be safe, but this should be doable. Dr. Vexahai watched in amazement as the two humans prepared for a rescue mission that the medical staff considered a suicide run. How can you volunteer for certain death? Jake checked his equipment. Doc, it's not certain death. It's just dangerous. There's a difference. Besides, Captain Hayes added, people are counting on us. Those miners have families. Within an hour, Jake and Captain Hayes were rappelling down into the collapsed mine shaft. Dr. Vexahai and the medical team monitored from the surface, expecting to lose contact with the humans at any moment. But the contact never broke. Jake's voice came through the radio clearly. We've found the first group, 3 miners, all alive. They're scared, but unhurt. How are you surviving the toxic atmosphere? Dr. Vexhai asked. It smells bad, but we're managing, Captain Hayes replied. The gas levels aren't as high as your sensors indicated, moving deeper to find the others. For 6 hours, the two humans worked in conditions that would have killed most galactic species. They cleared rubble with their bare hands, crawled through spaces barely wide enough for their bodies, and carried injured miners to safety. When they finally emerged from the mine, they were dirty and tired, but otherwise fine. Dr. Vexhai immediately began medical scans of both humans. Elevated toxin levels in your bloodstream, but within acceptable ranges, the doctor reported in disbelief. Minor cuts and bruises, some dehydration. You should both be dead. Captain Hayes wiped dirt from her face. We should probably shower and get some clean clothes. Do you have a place we can clean up? Jake was already talking to the rescued miners, making sure they were okay and asking about others who might still be trapped. Dr. Vexhai looked at Nurse Claythara. I am beginning to understand why humans are so successful as a species. They do not recognize the word impossible. That evening, as the medical team treated the rescued miners, Dr. Vexhai sat with Captain Hayes and Jake in the station's dining area. I must ask you something important, the doctor said. Are all humans like you two? Captain Hayes and Jake looked at each other. Like us how? Jake asked. So resilient, so willing to risk your lives for others, so resistant to injury and toxins. Captain Hayes thought about it. I suppose we're pretty typical for Earth military, but even civilians are pretty tough. You have to be to survive on our planet. My neighbor back home is a grandmother who survived. Cancer twice and still volunteers at the local fire department, Jake added. My little sister plays hockey and has had more broken bones than I have. Dr. Vexhai made more notes. I believe I understand now. Humans are not just physically resilient. You are psychologically adapted to overcome obstacles that would stop other species. We call it determination, Captain Hayes said. When something needs to be done, you find a way to do it. Dr. Vexhai looked up from the notes. Captain Hayes, I believe your species may be the most remarkable we have ever encountered. This information could change how the galaxy views both medicine and what is possible for intelligent life. Jake grinned. Doc, if you think we're something special, wait until you meet Engineer Pete Collins. That guy once fixed a fusion reactor while it was still running. Dr. Vexhai spent the next week sending reports to medical centers across the galaxy. The responses came back quickly, and they were all the same. Nobody believed the data about human durability. They think I am making this up, Dr. Vexhai told Captain Hayes during one of their daily meetings. The Galactic Health Council says my reports are medically impossible and clearly fabricated. Captain Hayes sipped the strange blue drink that the Zeltharians had given her. It tasted like berries mixed with metal. What would convince them? Video evidence, perhaps. Live demonstrations. But even then, they might claim the recordings are fake. Jake looked up from the technical manual he was reading. He was helping repair mining equipment during his recovery time. Maybe they need to see more than just me and the captain. Want me to call in some backup? Dr. Vexhai's eyes brightened. More humans? That would help prove this is normal for your species. Captain Hayes activated her communication device. UFS Intrepid, this is Captain Hayes. Please send down the engineering team. We have some additional work that requires their expertise. An hour later, 3 more humans arrived at the medical station. Engineer Pete Collins was a big man with oil stains on his uniform and a friendly smile. Medic Amy Rodriguez was small but moved with the quick confidence of someone used to emergency situations. Communications Officer Dan Foster looked young, but carried himself like a veteran. Dr. Vexhai immediately wanted to examine all of them. If you do not mind, I would like to perform basic medical scans. For scientific purposes. Pete shrugged. Sure, Doc, but I should warn you I've got some old injuries. Took some shrapnel in my shoulder last year and my back isn't what it used to be. Shrapnel? Dr. Vexhai asked as the scanning device moved over Pete's body. Engine explosion on Che. A mining ship. Piece of metal about the size of my thumb went right through my shoulder. Hurt like crazy, but the mission had to be completed. The scanner beeped and Dr. Vexhai stared at the screen. You have metal fragments still embedded in your muscle tissue. Yeah, the surgeons couldn't get all of it out without causing more damage, so they just left it there. Doesn't bother me much anymore. Dr. Vexhai looked at the other humans. Do you all have similar old injuries? Amy nodded. Broke my ribs in a shuttle crash 2 years ago. They healed up fine. She lifted her shirt to show faded scars across her side. Got these cuts from the wreckage, but I was back on duty in a week. Dan held up his left hand, which was missing the tip of his little finger. Lost this in a machinery accident during basic training. Hurt for a few days, then I forgot about it. You forgot about losing part of your body? Nurse Clithara gasped. It's just a fingertip, Dan said with a laugh. Doesn't affect anything important. Dr. Vexhai was frantically taking notes. This confirms everything. Captain Hayes, would your people be willing to participate in some tests? Nothing dangerous, just demonstrations of your capabilities. Before Captain Hayes could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the station. A Zeltharian security officer ran into the medical bay, speaking rapidly in the musical language. Dr. Vexhai listened, then turned to the humans with fear in his eyes. We are under attack. The Korthak Empire has sent warships. They demand that we surrender all humans for biological experimentation. Captain Hayes was immediately alert. How many ships? 3 battle cruisers and 6 fighter craft. Our defenses cannot hold against such a force. Jake stood up and stretched. Well, looks like those tests will have to wait, Doc. Pete was already moving toward the door. Where do you keep your defensive weapons? We are a medical station, Dr. Vexhai said helplessly. We have minimal military equipment. Amy was checking her medical kit. Any wounded from the first attack? Not yet, but there will be when the assault begins. Captain Hayes activated her comm device. UFS Intrepid, we need immediate support. Hostile vessels are approaching the medical station. The response crackled with static. Captain, we're outnumbered 3-1. Our ship cannot handle that many enemies alone. Dan was already working at a computer terminal. I'm trying to get a message to the nearest Earth Patrol, but they're at least 2 days away. Dr. Vexhai watched the humans prepare for battle. Instead of panic or fear, they showed calm determination. You cannot possibly fight such overwhelming odds. Sure we can, Jake said, loading ammunition into a plasma rifle he had found. We just have to be smarter and tougher than they are. Pete was examining the station's shield generators. These are good systems, but they're not designed for military use. I can boost the power output, but it will only buy us time. How much time? Captain Hayes asked. Maybe an hour before they overload and shut down. Amy set up a medical station in the main corridor. I'll be ready for casualties. Doc, do you have emergency medical supplies? Dr. Vexhai was amazed at how quickly the humans organized their defense. Yes, but you are only 5 people against hundreds of enemies. 5 humans, Dan corrected with a grin. That makes the odds almost fair. The first enemy ships reached the station's outer perimeter and began firing. The building shook as energy blasts hit the shields. Through the windows they could see the dark shapes of Korthak fighters buzzing around like angry insects. Pete's voice came through the intercom from the engineering section. Shields are holding, but I'm reading massive energy buildup from the big ships. They're preparing for a major assault. Jake took position at a defensive gun turret. Captain, what's the plan? Captain Hayes was studying a tactical display. We make them pay for every inch. When the shields fail, we fall back to the intersections and make them fight us room by room. That sounds like a good way to get killed, Dr. Vexhai said. Maybe, Captain Hayes replied, but it's also the best way to protect the people in this station. The main attack began with a tremendous explosion that knocked everyone to the ground. The lights flickered and cracks appeared in the walls. Dr. Vexhai's people screamed in terror, but the humans just got back up and returned to their positions. Shields at 50%, Pete reported. They're hitting us with everything they've got. Jake's gun turret opened fire, sending bright beams of energy toward the enemy fighters. Got one. These weapons pack more punch than I expected. Amy was helping injured Zeltharians who had been hurt by falling debris. "Doc, your people need to get to the safest part of the station. This is about to get much worse." Dr. Vexhai organized the evacuation while watching the humans fight. Jake's turret kept firing even after taking several direct hits. Pete continued working on the shields while sparks flew around him from damaged equipment. Amy treated wounded while explosions shook the building. "Shields failing," Pete announced. 30 seconds until total collapse. Captain Hayes picked up her rifle. "Everyone fall back to defensive positions. When they come through that door, we make them regret it." Dr. Vexhai could not understand how 5 humans could remain so calm while facing certain death. "Are you not afraid?" Dan, still working at his computer terminal despite the smoke and noise, looked up with a smile. "Doc, being afraid doesn't help anyone. We've got a job to do." The shields failed with a flash of light and the enemy ships moved in for the final assault. The enemy soldiers came through the main airlock like a black wave. The Korthax were large, armored creatures with 4 arms and faces like angry lizards. They carried weapons that crackled with electricity and moved with the confidence of beings who had never lost a battle. Jake's position was the first to be overrun. Dr. Vexahai watched in horror as plasma bolts hit the human multiple times. Smoke rose from Jake's uniform and blood ran down his face, but instead of falling, Jake kept firing his weapon with deadly accuracy. "How is he still fighting?" Nurse Clithara whispered. "I don't know," Dr. Vexhai replied, amazed. Pete's voice came over the intercom. "They've breached the engineering section. I'm falling back, but the power grid is holding." Amy was treating a wounded Zeltharian when 3 Korthax soldiers burst into the medical bay. She smoothly drew her sidearm and shot all 3 before they could react. The wounded alien she was treating stared at her in shock. "Sorry about the interruption," Amy said calmly, continuing her medical work. "Where were we?" Captain Hayes led a counterattack down the main corridor. Even though she was outnumbered 20-1, she moved forward with the determination of someone who refused to lose. Enemy soldiers fell back before her advance, confused by tactics they had never encountered. Dan had taken shrapnel in his leg, but kept working at his computer station. "Captain, I'm picking up new signals. Earth ships are responding to our distress. Call." "How far out?" Captain Hayes asked while reloading her rifle. "Still 6 hours away. But there's something else. The Zeltharian military fleet is mobilizing. They're coming to help us." Dr. Vexahai felt hope for the first time since the attack began. The Zeltharian fleet was not large, but their ships were fast and well armed. The battle continued for 3 more hours. The humans held positions that should have been impossible to defend. They fought with injuries that should have stopped them. When Jake's weapon was destroyed by enemy fire, he picked up a piece of broken metal and used it as a club. When Pete was trapped in a collapsed section, he continued sabotaging enemy equipment from behind the rubble. The Korthak commander finally called for a meeting under a temporary ceasefire. He was a huge creature with scars covering his armor, and the cold eyes of a professional killer. "I am war leader Vorthak," he announced. "I have come to claim the humans for study. Their resistance ends now." Captain Hayes stood across from him in the main corridor. Her uniform was torn and bloody, but her voice was steady. "I am Captain Lisa Hayes of the Earth Federation. You can go back where you came from, or we can continue this fight." Vorthak laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "You are 5 wounded beings against 300 of my warriors. Surrender now, and I will allow the alien healers to live." "Counteroffer," Captain Hayes said. "You leave immediately, and we won't destroy your ships when our reinforcements arrive." "Your reinforcements?" "The Zeltharian fleet is weak. They will not save you." Jake limped up beside Captain Hayes. Half his face was covered in bandages, but he was grinning. "War leader, you seem to have missed something important." "What?" "We're humans. We don't know how to surrender." Before Vorthak could respond, Dan's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, the Zeltharian fleet has arrived. They're demanding that the Korthax withdraw immediately." Through the station's windows, they could see sleek Zeltharian ships surrounding the enemy vessels. Dr. Vexhai felt pride watching his people's military defend their allies. Vorthak snarled. The Zeltharians are weak. They will not risk war for 5 humans. Dr. Vexhai stepped forward. War leader, you are wrong. These humans saved our people from the mine collapse. They defended our medical station with their lives. We will not abandon such allies. The Korthak commander's eyes showed uncertainty for the first time. His forces had expected an easy victory, not hours of brutal fighting against enemies who refused to fall. Captain Hayes activated her communication device. UFS Intrepid, what's your status? Captain, we've joined up with the Zeltharian fleet. Admiral Kethmore is requesting permission to engage the enemy vessels. Pete's voice came from the engineering section. Captain, I've got the main weapons. Systems back online. Not sure how long they'll last, but we can give those ships something to think about. Vorthak looked around at his soldiers. Many were wounded from the fighting. Their equipment was damaged from the humans' fierce resistance. The easy victory he had expected had turned into a costly battle with no end in sight. This is not over, Vorthak growled. The Empire will return. We'll be waiting, Jake said cheerfully. The Korthak forces retreated to their ships and left the system. Dr. Vexhai immediately began treating the wounded humans, but once again was amazed at their resilience. Jake needed surgery to remove shrapnel, but he remained conscious and alert throughout the procedure. Pete had burns on his arms and hands but refused pain medication because he wanted to continue repairs. Amy had been grazed by several plasma bolts but insisted on treating other wounded, before addressing her own injuries. This is remarkable, Dr. Vexhai told Captain Hayes. You fought off a force that should have overwhelmed you completely. Teamwork, Captain Hayes said simply. Everyone did their job. Admiral Kethmore of the Zeltharian fleet came aboard the Fur station the next day. He was an older Zeltharian with silver patterns on his skin and the bearing of an experienced military leader. Captain Hayes, he said, what you and your people accomplished here will be remembered in our history. 5 humans held off 300 enemies and saved this station. We had help from Dr. Vexhai and the medical staff, Captain Hayes replied. It was a team effort. Dr. Vexhai approached with a thick folder of documents. Admiral, I have compiled complete medical and behavioral data on human capabilities. This information needs to be shared with the Galactic Council. Admiral Kethmore reviewed the files. This will change everything. If humans are this resilient and determined, they could be valuable allies for the entire galaxy. Over the following weeks, word spread throughout known space about the miracle humans who could survive impossible injuries and fight overwhelming odds. Medical schools began requesting human physiology data. Military leaders wanted to study human tactics and psychology. Dr. Vexhai established a joint research facility on the station, studying how human biological adaptations could benefit other species. The research led to new medical treatments and technologies that saved lives across the galaxy. Jake recovered fully from his injuries and was assigned as a liaison officer, helping other species understand human capabilities. He enjoyed the work and was good at explaining human culture to confused aliens. Captain Hayes negotiated a formal alliance between Earth and the Zeltharian Republic. Human soldiers began serving alongside Zeltharian forces, while Earth received advanced medical technology and galactic citizenship. 6 months later, Dr. Vexhai was working in the medical bay when a new patient arrived. Sergeant Kate Miller had been injured during a training exercise with Zeltharian troops. She had fallen down a cliff during a mountain rescue simulation. Dr. Vexhai performed the medical scan and shook his head in amazement. Sergeant Miller, you have fractured 12 bones, a concussion, and severe lacerations. How are you still conscious? Kate grinned and tried to sit up. Doc, this is nothing. You should see what happened to the cliff. Dr. Vexhai laughed and began treatment. After months of working with humans, he had learned to expect the impossible. These remarkable beings had not only survived on a death world, but had brought their strength and determination to help protect the entire galaxy. As he worked, Dr. Vexhai thought about how much the galaxy had changed since that first day when Jake Morrison had crashed on their planet. Humans had proven that resilience, determination, and the refusal to give up could overcome any obstacle. The medical station had become a symbol of cooperation between species. Humans and Zeltharians worked together, combining human toughness with alien technology to create something greater than either could achieve alone. Dr. Vexhai finished treating Kate's injuries and watched her walk out of the medical bay to return to training. He made a note in his journal. Another day, another impossible human recovery. I am beginning to think that impossible is simply a word that humans have not learned yet. Outside the medical bay windows, he could see human and Zeltharian ships patrolling together, protecting the peaceful worlds of the galaxy. The partnership that had begun with one crashed shuttle had grown into an alliance that made the entire galaxy safer. And in the distance, more human ships were arriving, bringing with them the same unstoppable spirit that had impressed Dr. Vexhai. From the very beginning, the galaxy was a better place with humans in it, and everyone knew it.